What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rumble Rewind. I am Brandon, and today we are talking about the latest episode of NXT. This is About Last Night. Hey, before we get started, go ahead and do me a quick favor. Scroll down below this video, hit that like button because I promise you're going to love it. While you're down there, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We are pushing for our first 200 subscribers, and we are well on our way. And once we get there, we're going to be giving away some sweet WWE gear. You got to be subscribed to be eligible, so do that. And also turn on the post notifications so you don't miss an upload. Then you'll know how to get into that giveaway as well. All right, let's jump into this episode filmed live at the WWE Performance Center. In the opening segment, we would see Ava standing outside of the PC with some security guards and Mr. Stone waiting on the arrival of Ethan Page. Ethan would drive up and thank Ava for the warm welcome, and he would be escorted inside to sign his contract. Now, later in the night outside of Ava's office, we would see a conversation between Ava and Page. He said the contract looked good, but it was missing one detail, and Ava said she couldn't give him that. Ethan says that he's going to get whatever he wants because he has all the leverage. Now, as Ethan Page walks away, Mr. Stone shows up and asks Ava about the contract. Ava says that Ethan is the worst, and she shows him the list of demands, and Mr. Stone looks flabbergasted, if you will. Now, a bit later, Kelly Kincaid would catch up with Ava, and Ava said that Ethan is demanding to sign his contract in front of the whole world. Now, this is not the one demand that couldn't be met, but just one more in the list of reasons that Ethan Page is the worst. Trick Williams would enter the scene, and he would tell Ava to give Ethan whatever he wants because Trick wants a fight. Trick wants to get back at him for that attack last week, and he wants Ethan to be signed to NXT so that he can do that. That contract signing would take place at the end of the night. So let's move on from there. We would jump straight into our first match of the night, and it was TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace taking on Stevie Turner. Now, before Stevie could finish her entrance, Roxanne would make her entrance to watch from commentary. And in this match, I got to be honest, Stevie Turner got a lot more offense than I thought. She got a lot of technical offense, showing off a lot of technical skill, a lot of reversals, and basically she's just being slippery against this powerhouse that is Jordynne Grace. Now, eventually, though, Jordynne's power would get the best of Stevie Turner, and Grace would take her out with the Juggernaut Driver. If you've never seen this move before, it's a good one. We need it in WWE 2K24. Now, after the match, Roxanne would jump into the ring. She would get in the face of Jordynne Grace, and she would shove her. Jordynne would no-sell the shove and hit Roxy back with a shove of her own, knocking her down. As Roxanne got up, Jordynne would go for a move, but Roxanne would slip out and escape to ringside, selling some fear and selling some doubt, making her look vulnerable. Now, this obviously, we're building up towards this match. There's got to be some drama. There's so many questions around the logistics of this. Is there any possible chance that Jordynne Grace walks out with the NXT Championship? Tell me what you think in the comments. Is Jordynne Grace somehow going to win this championship? Anyway, later in the night, we would get a little bit more of Jordynne Grace in a backstage segment where she would catch up with Mia Yim. Sol Ruca would enter the scene, and she would kind of talk up that she's a big fan of Jordynne Grace, and Grace would reciprocate and say that she's a fan of Sol Ruca. Jada Parker would enter the scene and mock their exchange, and then she and Mia Yim would draw back and forth a little bit before they would all leave. Ariana Grace would show up to talk to Jordynne Grace and say that they have the same last name, but they're not related. Tatum Paxley would then enter and eye the TNA title. Jordynne would say how important the TNA Championship was to her, and then she would walk away. Tatum would be left there alone, staring blankly off in Jordynne Grace's direction, and she said, "It's important to me too." I have a lot of thoughts on all of this. This match and the aftermath was really all about making Jordynne Grace look strong, and they did that. At the same time, they didn't make Stevie Turner look bad. Stevie had potential back maybe a year or so ago when she was doing the streamer, the Twitch stream character. I thought that she was doing a good job there. So I hope that this means that they've got something in mind for her, that they're going to start using her again. Now, later in the night, Stevie would show up and ask Ava for another chance next week. And Ava didn't answer, but this does give me hope that maybe there is some future plans for Stevie Turner. I really hope so. Now, while I do like how we got to this match, it makes sense that Stevie would barge into Ava's office upset that she just hands Jordynne Grace a title shot while Stevie has been working to get noticed for so long. Jordynne Grace would have looked better if she was taking on a more established member of the NXT roster. Now, either way, I'm looking forward to seeing this match Sunday at Battleground. If I'm making a prediction right now, Roxanne Perez walks out with the title somehow. Somehow, whether it's a non-finish, which a lot of fans will be upset about. I would probably not love that. Or if she gets some sneaky win that kind of extends their feud a little bit, I could see that too. But I do think that Roxanne walks out with the title, but I am looking forward to that match. Now, that backstage segment was very interesting, and it just served as a way for Jordynne Grace to get a little bit more face time with the NXT audience. And the Tatum Paxley bit was great. I love this idea of her just being obsessed with any and all championships that are near her. Anytime there's gold around, she wants it. I honestly think that Tatum Paxley is potentially going to walk out of Battleground with a championship in her hands. Now, whether she steals the TNA title to set up a future crossover, which some fans are speculating, or she sneaks into the ladder match and swipes that one, I'm here for it. I think it would be great if Tatum would somehow sneak in and walk out with a championship. Even if she's not successful, at minimum, I see her involved. Like if she were to sneak into the ladder match and try to steal the championship but get taken out, that would be great, and we could set up some potential future storylines. It's been a long time since I can recall a good stolen title belt angle, and I think, we're bringing stuff back. We brought back the Mark Henry salmon jacket fake retirement speech, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about there, check out my video here about last week's SmackDown. We can bring something like this back as well. We can bring back the stolen title angle. The last time I remember it was when Syxx did it as a member of the NWO way back in the day. Now, from there, we would see a segment with Trick Williams and Lash Legend. Trick would pull up to the PC looking for Ethan Page. Lash was selling her worry about the attacks and wondering if they'll continue, and Trick promises her that he's going to take care of it. Lash, at that point, said that whatever's going on between them, it's got to be over, because she's got to lock in. She's got to focus on winning that North American Championship. Trick said he understood, and he left to go look for Ethan Page. Now, I like the Trick Lash thing. I'm sure it's not over, but here we go. From there, we would get a backstage segment with Shawn Spears. He's in a conversation with Uriah Connors, Javon Evans, and a few other developmental wrestlers, Kendall Gray, Javier Bernal, Kaya Saint, and he is offering his guidance. Everyone kind of seems to be listening. They don't seem like they're all in at this point, but they're kind of listening with the exception of Javon. Now, Josh Briggs walks in, and he's upset, shows frustration that Shawn Spears referred to him as being lost. Now here, Spears would backpedal a little bit, and he would tell Josh Briggs that he was not who he was referring to. Now, there's a lot of theories on who that could be, but the leading theory is Brooks Jensen, who later in the night made an appearance during one of the commercial breaks that was caught on social media. I love this strategy, how they're doing this, but moving on with this segment, Briggs would get into Shawn Spears' face. Shawn would say that Briggs' misguidance and his immaturity are showing. Javon Evans would hold him back and say he's not even worth it. Later in the night, it looked like we were going to get a match with Briggs and Shawn Spears. Briggs was making his entrance when we would head to the back and see that Spears had in fact attacked Josh Briggs with a chair. Spears was yelling at Briggs when Javon Evans shows up. Spears tries to talk Evans out of a fight, but a brawl ensues anyway. After a pretty solid back and forth brawl, Evans does get the best of Spears and hits him with this insane springboard cutter that takes Shawn Spears out. This was an incredible brawl. They're pushing Javon Evans. He's getting the superstar treatment. They see big things for him. His ring work for being 20 years old is incredible. It's unmatched. I don't think I've seen somebody with that much in-ring ability and awareness at that young. His promos and things like that are okay. They're not great yet, but he'll get there. All that to say, I'm expecting big things from Javon Evans. He's going places. Next up, we would get the title summit between the 6 competitors that are facing off for the first ever North American Women's Championship. Everyone got their promos in. Jada Parker, Mia Yim, Lash Legend really stood out here as kind of above everybody else in promo skills. Souls was pretty good, Fallon's was okay, and Kalani Jordan's was not great, unfortunately. She's not great on the mic. She makes up for it in the in-ring work, so hopefully she'll continue to develop. Now, things start to break down once Jada says that she's surprised that Lash is able to even think of anything else besides Trick Williams. The classic argument ensues, and eventually Fallon Henley takes the first swing and hits Lash. Everybody starts fighting, and finally Mr. Stone comes out to announce the 6-woman tag match for later in the night. It would be Lash, Fallon, and Kalani versus Parker, Soul, and Mia Yim. Now, Vic even spoke to this and said it was kind of wild card teams as opposed to your classic faces versus heels. 3-on-3 match, which is fine. It made for a lot more drama. There was a lot of infighting among the teams, sometimes with tags being refused, sometimes with tags being stolen. It's everything that you would expect from such a match between 6 people who are getting ready to fight in 5 days. Later in the match, though, Jasmine Nix and JC Jane would make their way to ringside, with JC Jane sporting a protective face mask because she's had her nose broken by Thea Hale. And they would kind of just watch. They didn't get involved. They were just there. Things would eventually break down with each team kind of brawling with their teammates. Eventually, though, Lash Legend and Sol Ruka would be sort of the last women standing for their respective teams. In the midst of the chaos, Sol would hit the Soul Snatcher on Lash and pick up the win for her team. Now, Sol's been the favorite to win this thing kind of from the beginning. She finished first in the Combine. She got a commanding victory in her qualifying match, and now she picks up the win tonight for her teammate with an incredible Soul Snatcher. All of those things kind of make me wonder if Sol is going to walk out with this championship. I don't know. I'm not as confident as I was before. But tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think Sol is still the favorite, or do you think that all these wins have kind of shifted that a little bit? I'm not sure yet, but I will give you my official prediction in a couple of days whenever I post my official Battleground preview/predictions video. So if you want to be in the know on that one, make sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss it. Also, we'll be giving a lot more details on our 200 subscriber giveaway on that video. So make sure you are ready for it. Moving on, we would get an odd segment with Charlie Dempsey, and he would basically just tell us over and over how obsessed he is with Tony D'Angelo and the family. I mean, he's talking to himself in the mirror. He's doing the Robert De Niro impressions. Are you talking to me? Eventually, Miles Bourne would step into the scene and kind of ask Charlie what's going on. Charlie would say, "Where's Damon?" And Damon would pop in from the side and basically say that he's literally been there the whole time. Dempsey is still looking at the mirror. He tells Kemp that tonight that they're going to bring the cup back to the family. And again, he's just obsessed with Tony D and the way that he runs things. In response, Kemp looks at Charlie Dempsey, kind of says, okay, and then says, it's weird that we're talking to each other through a mirror. Dempsey continues on and eventually forces Damon Kemp to say, capiche. Again, just continuing to push forward this obsession with the family. Ever since they lost the Heritage Cup, Charlie Dempsey has been obsessed with Tony D'Angelo. And now we saw the same thing happen when Noam Dar lost the Heritage Cup the first time. Now we're seeing it happen to No Quarter Catch Crew. I wonder what they're doing with the Heritage Cup. It seems to create this obsession, and I kind of like it. I hope that continues when we eventually see Tony D lose the cup down the road. Will he become obsessed with it? Will it drive him a little bit crazy? I like it. I think it's fun to give that cup and that championship some identity. Later on, Tony D would get interviewed by Sarah Schreiber, and she would ask him about his match for the Heritage Cup. Now, Tony said that he is admittedly inexperienced in Heritage Cup things, and he's still trying to figure out this different animal. He said, but his boy Luca did clue him in on all things related to the catch clause, and they were prepared for the match tonight. A match would follow that interview segment. No Quarter Catch Crew would make their entrance, followed by the family. During the ring introductions, Tony D actually joked that the family would invoke the catch clause, but after all the laughter faded, they just moved forward to the match. In the first round, Tony D would pick up a quick fall off of a Fisherman's Buster to go up 1-0. The second round passed with no falls for either man, and as the third round came to a close, Damon Kemp would hit Tony D with a Death Valley driver. However, the round ended just before the ref could make the 3 count. That would send us into round 4 with Tony D still up 1-0. As the round began, Damon Kemp charged Tony D but ran right into a huge Uranagi, and Tony D'Angelo picked up the win. After the match, Tony D and the family would continue to celebrate with the cup while No Quarter Catch Crew sold their frustration and continued to act obsessed with the family and the Heritage Cup. All right, now I am a fan of this story. As I said, I like the cup and I like the way that it affects people, but there's only so much more that this story can do, so that I hope that the creative team has a plan to kind of finish this story and move forward or inject some new life into it. Tell me what you think, though. Are you a fan of Tony D and the family having the Heritage Cup? Where do you think we go from here? All right, let's talk about Chase U. Thea Hale was going to have a match tonight against Jasmine Nix. She's in the back. She is pumped up. She says she's going to make Jasmine Nix tap out again. Now, before she can make her entrance, though, Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne inform Andre Chase that they will not be going to the ring. Chase encourages Thea and says that those guys are allowed to feel the way they feel. Now, Ridge would meet up with them backstage and begin to head out to the ring. Jasmine Nix would make her entrance following Chase U, sporting some new gear. Now, late in the match, Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne did show up, making their entrance through the crowd. At this point, Thea hits Jasmine with some of her signature offense, including the World's Smallest Slam, but then she gets distracted by Duke and Riley. She is still able to lock on the Kimura, but Jasmine uses the referee to escape and then hits the Pele kick to pick up the win. After the match, Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne are at a loss of what to say, what to do. They kind of throw their hands up. Now, I'm interested in this story, but I'm interested in where we're going. If we're headed for a Chase U split, I get it. It does make for good storytelling. It will make for good storytelling, but it'll be kind of sad. I like Chase U. I like Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne and Chase U, but I will admit they're both kind of floundering, and Chase U could really be kind of a spot that brings in new talent and helps elevate them. So if Riley and Duke move on, like enter the transfer portal, maybe I could see some new Chase U types coming in and then having a feud with this Chase U versus whatever Riley and Duke do. So we'll have to see where this story goes, but I'm hopeful for the future that it's going to be good. All right, we would get some cell phone footage after that of the OC attacking the tag team champions outside of the Performance Center at the merchandise truck earlier in the day. Now, we would find out as a result of this video that OC, despite the fact that they were scheduled to wrestle tonight, has been banned from the building. Now, later in the night, we would get a promo from Axiom and Nathan Frazier telling the OC that they are not afraid of them, and despite the attack, and despite the fact that the OC got the better of the attack, they would still see them at Battleground. In the same vein, we would later get a hype package for Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice's NXT Underground match. This package was just kind of standard stuff, and it was selling or hyping up both women's MMA backgrounds and what this match was going to look like. Now, I'm excited for both of these matches. I think that the OC will leave empty-handed. I'm pretty sure the champions are going to retain. The OC just kind of got written back in to SmackDown storyline, so that I think that their time in NXT is coming to a close. It's time. I think that they've done what they came to do. As far as Baszler and Vice goes in that NXT Underground match, I think this could be the sleeper for one of the matches of the night. Both of these women have true MMA backgrounds. Both of them are talented in that arena, and I am looking forward to seeing what they can do in this NXT Underground. All right, we would get another match here, and it would be Izzy Dame taking on Natalya. This was set up in last week's Brawl, so if you didn't see that one, check out my video from last week's NXT, and we'll talk all about it. Now, it was supposed to be Carmen Petrovic taking on Izzy Dame, but unfortunately, she was injured recently at a WWE live event. This seems like a real injury, and so I'm wishing Carmen a speedy recovery. I honestly hope she gets back in the ring quick. She was one of the ones that's getting pushed here lately, and I want to see where that goes because she's got a lot of potential. Now, early on, Izzy would take the advantage in this match and use her power offense. Natalya would fire back with some technical abilities. Late in the match, Natalya and Izzy would actually trade a series of rapid-fire leverage pin attempts, with Natalya getting the better of it and getting the win as a result. All right, so Natalya continues to pick up wins in NXT. She continues to be that veteran that's helping people get better in the ring. And I do believe she's chasing some sort of record for wins, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that that NXT is allowing her to get more of those wins because she's not being featured on Raw or SmackDown. She's definitely not winning on Monday Night Raw. Now, out of this, Izzy Dame gets some in-ring experience with a veteran, and taking a loss to somebody like Natalya doesn't really hurt your stock. I think Izzy has some breakout potential, but she needs a little more time. I see her currently at the level where she's not quite ready to be in the mid-card title picture, but she could move towards competing for something like that relatively soon. Following this match, Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe made their entrance. They were supposed to face the OC tonight. They make their entrance anyway, not knowing who their replacement opponents will be. However, during the break, they were attacked and taken out by Gallus. When we get back from the break, Gallus is in the ring cutting a promo on everybody from Sexy Red to social media. They even take some shots at the NIL program that WWE has, saying maybe if they played a different sport, they would get some respect. Now, Joe Coffey talks up Battleground and the match that they're going to have and highlights the fact that the triple threat match has no rules. Obafemi makes his way to the ring and says that the Gallus boys may interfere, they may try to help Joe, but the outcome will be the same and that Obafemi will be leaving with his championship. At this point, Wes Lee makes his entrance through the audience, but before he can get in any words, Gallus attacks both men and leaves both men laid out. Now, when somebody stands tall like that on the go home episode, it usually is a signal that they are not leaving with the title at the PLE. But I really hope this is one of the rare occasions when WWE breaks the formula. I like Joe Coffey enough to be curious about what he would do with a championship run. We've had so many false starts with Joe Coffey. I would hate to see this be the same thing. Joe Coffey gets close to gold and then disappears for months. I also like Gallus a lot when they are playing this dominant heel role. They do it really well. Their promos are solid. That's their sweet spot. I'm glad to see them working that angle right now, and I want to see that continue. And I want to see Gallus have some success so that we can see, is Joe Coffey maybe a future champion, a future NXT champion, or even on the main roster? I think he's got potential. They just need to actually invest in a good story and give him some time to run with it. All right, we would get a couple of promos, interviews, backstage things that were pretty exciting, one of which was Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe says he is fighting for more than wins. He's fighting for those who came before him. He references a lot of Native American WWE superstars like Wahoo McDaniel and some guys like that. He says he's fighting for representation and to honor his heritage. He says he's returning to the ring reborn, and I'm excited to see Eddie Thorpe come back. Following that, we would see an interview with Lexis King where he had gloated about how he took Dante Chen out last week, left him barely able to walk. Before Lexis could finish this, though, Dante Chen would attack him and they would brawl backstage. Lexis said he wanted to end this once and for all, so I'm curious to see where that goes. Maybe it's a match next week, or maybe it's on Battleground. We'll see what happens. In my favorite video promo of the night, we would get what I assume is the final Wendy Choo video vignette. We see her getting out of bed, putting on the slippers, walking to the bathroom, turning on the sink, washing her face, and then finally we see Wendy Choo for the first time, and here's what we see. My first question was, is Wendy Choo a freaking zombie now? But I actually think what's happened here is Wendy Choo's just woken up from a nightmare. She got injured. She's been on the shelf for a long time. She's lived this nightmare, and so now she's waking up from it, ready to come back. So I'm curious to see where they go with this. My first thought would have been that she gets revenge on Blair Davenport, who from a kayfabe standpoint is the one that took her out. However, we know that Blair's not in NXT anymore. So I am curious to see where Wendy Choo goes. I think there's a lot of potential. I'm excited to see where it goes. All right, wrapping it up, we've got one more segment, and it is the Ethan Page contract signing. Page was in the ring, and he hyped how he would be getting special treatment and recognized that it's not fair. But he says he doesn't care if it's fair or not because he has earned it. Page continued to hype himself up when Trick Williams made his entrance. Once in the ring, Trick told Ethan Page that he was going to take him out. He said that Page can't just jump the NXT champion without consequences. Page kind of turned the corner here and said that he actually respects Trick, and he respected how he escaped from Carmelo Hayes' shadow. Page said that he knows what it's like, and he was trying to do the same thing. Trick asked Ava to sign the contract, but Ava said she could not agree to all the demands. Trick asked why, and Page answered him saying that his demand was for his first match to be this week at Battleground and for it to be for the NXT Championship to end the Whoop That era. Trick agreed to the match and continued to push Ava to sign the contract. She finally did, and the show ended with the crowd chanting, "Whoop that Trick." All right, on paper, this one's going to be a great match. No question about that. Trick Williams is at the top of his game. Ethan Page is obviously talented, obviously solid in the ring. What are they going to do? I'm very curious about this. This is Trick Williams' first title defense. I don't think they're going to take the belt off of him. This is Ethan Page's first match in NXT. I don't see them handing him a clean loss right out of the gate. Now, one option is they could give these guys a lot of time, and at the end of it, Trick barely survives, barely gets the win, and that sets them up for a rematch down the road. Or they could do some kind of weird non-finish interference type of thing, which is not going to give the crowd a lot of excitement. Something's got to give here. Either of these guys needs to take this loss, and so I'm curious to see where we go from here. So tell me what you think in the comments. How would you book this if you were running NXT Creative? What would you do to make both guys look strong here and yet allow them to have a great match with a satisfying finish? Let me know. I'm curious, and then I'll share some of my thoughts later in the week when we talk about Battleground. All right, final thoughts. This show wasn't quite on the level of last week's show. Last week's show was fire from start to finish. I mean, there's a lot to compare to it. But I will say that NXT just continues to cook right now. And it's truly become the show that I look forward to the most. each week. They've got a lot of new people coming in. They've got a lot of great talent. They've got a lot of great stories being told. And I'm just going to say it right now, as far as creative goes, Shawn Michaels might be WWE's top chef. I really enjoy NXT. Now, Battleground is this Sunday. The card is absolutely stacked. It's going to be incredible. As far as a rating goes, I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. As a PLE go-home show, it really checked every box for me, but how would you rate it? Let me know in the comments below. Well, hey, that is it for this episode of About Last Night. Thanks for hanging out with me on the channel today. Hey, before you go, though, you made it this far, so do me a quick favor. Just scroll down below, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're well on our way to our first 200 subscribers, and once we get there, we're doing an awesome giveaway, so you're going to want to be a part of that. And the best way to stay informed on all things related to that giveaway is to turn on your post notifications. That is it for today. I'll see you on the next one.